Happiness is beautiful, it's a kind reality. Happiness is the highest good, happiness is free. So let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy.
Welcome to the Happiness Show. This is Lionel Ketchian. I'm here with George Ortega, and we're here to talk about happiness because happiness is, always has been, and always will be the point of it all. Today we have a great show. We'll be presenting Finding Happiness When Challenged by Adversity, and we have a great guest with us today, Melissa Zollo. And Melissa is an imagist. She's an inspirational speaker and the author of Discover the Power of Imagination and the Art of Intentional Creation CD audio program. Her website is www.presentmemory.com. Welcome, Melissa.
Oh, it's so wonderful to be here today.
It's great to have you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Happiness Show. Now, you basically have a lot to talk about regarding happiness and how we can find happiness for ourselves and the things that are most important to us. How did this all start for you? I mean, where did you ever find the way to understand how to bring this to people?
Well, first of all, I was always interested in universal laws of success. I was always interested in people, and I was always searching for better ways to know myself, accept myself, love myself, and be happy in regards to life. Not because of what was happening on the outside, but more trying to find out how to become a happier person within myself, regardless of appearances.
Now, did anything ever happen to you in your life that sort of prompted you to sort of take up the cause of helping others to find answers?
Well, I had a very serious accident in 1992, and my then career and life came to a sudden collapse. I had a head and back injury, and in 24 hours my life changed, and everything that I knew of myself or could do was suddenly taken away from me. And in that 24 hours I had to do some very serious deep thinking, and I decided that A, I was going to live through the experience, B, I was going to test these so-called spiritual principles, and C, I was going to seek my joy, my gratitude, and my happiness, and align with them so that I could get through adversity.
Oh, that's very good, and it's very inspiring. So can you tell us, like, exactly what were the challenges that you were facing at that time, and then how you overcame them?
Yes, well, the first challenge was obviously physical, because I had a head injury, and so I suffered from the repercussions, the physical repercussions, but something happened which was more challenging, and it was an experience of feeling like the back of my head was like blown off, and that I was on an elevator that was just swirling down, 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 and I couldn't stop it. And so that was the beginning of recognizing I was in a very serious situation, because you know, when one goes to the doctor, the first thing they want to do is diagnose you, give you a pill, and send you home. But I was a very unusual patient. I didn't want to take pills. I wanted to understand, you know, what was going on. I didn't want to become a medical drug addict, in my opinion, where I would be on drugs or fear the emotions that were coming up. I didn't want to fear the experience and the pain. I wanted to find a way to go through the pain and come out the other end. So that was the first part of the seriousness of it. The second part was, in going to doctors, I found that I was very vulnerable to their suggestions, and that most medical practitioners or medical doctors always focused on the negative, focused on illness, and that only fed my fear or apprehension. And so I realized that it was up to me to dig deep inside myself and like an actor or a writer, design my own script, write my own script, and decide how I was going to maneuver or navigate through it. And so I created a health image, and I created a blueprint for health and healing. And I had a 10-year health crisis, so that blueprint certainly was my beacon to navigate through many challenges, many different kinds of doctors, many different kinds of, interpretations of my situation. And in the end, I related and relied totally on myself, not what other people were telling me.
Great.
That's great. Now, so actually, this situation, shall we say, enlightened you to maybe possibility thinking and to finding ways to live your life that are more empowering?
I had already had the seeds within me for this understanding. What this so-called negative experience did for me was it showed me that in every negative experience, the seed for something positive or the opposite polarity of it is also present. And I realized that our world is first created within ourselves, and so imagination was really the beginning of me knowing that although I was physically bound and certainly physically challenged, I was not imaginatively challenged. I was imaginatively free to perceive and to feel myself as a healthy, vibrant person. And so I started to use spiritual universal laws of success in a very practical way and a very focused way. And I came out realizing that I am a focuser of energy. And what better energy to focus on than, health fueled from happiness. I'm happy that I'm healthy. I'm happy that I'm here, even in my worst moments. Even when, tears came up, as soon as the tears were shed, it was a release, and then I would be grateful and then happy that I had that opportunity.
I would. Yeah, sure.
You spoke about creating images and a blueprint.
Yes.
So can you provide a bit more details about what that blueprint actually was?
Yes. I often say to people, would you build a house if you didn't have a blueprint? We have blueprints for things that are external, but many people don't realize that our lives are somehow bound by our primary blueprints or our primary images, and that some of us may have gotten labeled in negative ways, in limiting ways, and that we don't understand. It's like an iceberg. The tip of us is this little physical part out here, but the deeper part of us is within us, and that blueprint or first memories can limit us. And that's why my company is named Present Memory, because I can at any moment change a blueprint. I can at any moment, feel happy.
I'm wondering, like for your particular situation back then, what exactly was the blueprint? What exactly were the images?
Well, the first blueprint that I created was a health image, because I certainly did not agree with the diagnosis, and I certainly did not agree with the idea of the prescription of being on drugs the rest of my life. But I went, and I searched until I could find people who could physically help me understand what my physical crisis was. But inwardly, I made a conscious decision to perceive and to see myself as healthy. So I devised an image, that with each success would alter, to get me through things. In other words, I saw myself in 10 years. And I felt myself. So I started to feed new thought seeds about myself to myself, and I energized them. So I would every day, like an actor almost, I would have a script that would say, I'm really happy to be alive. I'm healing wonderfully. I'm finding out information. My cells, my bones, my muscles, my glands are being rejuvenated, and I would feed the inner me with these uplifting ideas. And then I would lay back and try to feel as if I were that person right now. Inwardly, I would act as if I'm healthy, I'm vibrant, I'm alive, I'm back in life. You follow? And so inwardly, like a farmer, I planted these seeds, I fertilized them, I allowed them to incubate as I physically went through a challenge. So I really never identified myself and limited myself to the diagnosis or the experience, but I didn't deny it and I didn't repress it, because that's the key, I think, to using these principles, is that you really want to apply them in the face of adversity.
Yeah, it's, it reminds me of Science of Mind. I think it was Ernest Holmes who said, what the human mind can conceive and believe, the human mind can achieve. And it's pretty much what you're talking about.
Yes, and for me, my focus is on imagination, and here's why. If we had someone here who was of science of mind, or a Buddhist, or a Christian, or Jewish, or, someone who's an atheist, or a scientist, everyone has their own, idea of where God is, or spirit is, or energy is. But if I had all those people gathered here, I could say, everyone close your eyes and let's go within to our imagination. We cross all boundaries, because imagination is limitless, and what you imagine, you can experience. So for me, the words spirit, consciousness, energy, when we use the word imagination, people know how to turn within. And that's why I call myself an imagist, because an imagist is not someone who is agreeable totally to the facts. They are agreeable to the infinite possibilities that exist within us.
Okay, so now kind of like bringing this to happiness, like if a person were to use this imagery to kind of like create images of their future, of how happy they would want to be, are you also saying that by simply creating those images, that would like create the feelings, and just that the person would be creating actual situations also that would derive from the feelings and behaviors that would change?
It goes image, belief, feeling, action. So we try first to plant the seed, to fertilize the seed. Once I get the feeling that I'm happy, I'm going to act, I'm going to take action in that direction. So what it does is, my audio program is, I actually created tools for helping someone every morning focus, to choose the thoughts they want to think, to focus in the direction of success, and then to actually summon that feeling of happiness, because we can summon it at any moment. You can change yourself at any moment, but what I found is most people need tools to help them, and I created an audio program to assist people who really want to, A, learn what these universal laws of success are in the privacy of their own home, and then to actually use them to start to change themselves. And so you become a producer, director, writer, and actor, and star of your own show. You become a focuser of energy, and you start designing and directing where you want your life to go. And that is very empowering, and it also is wonderful because it doesn't in any way offend anyone's religious beliefs.
Well, that's great. How much would you say gratitude is a part of this happiness that you've experienced? When I say that, I mean that you did experience being sick and immobile, maybe, or limited, and it was a crisis, and so what being of ill health is, and then as you're gaining and winning and getting this healthier person, the things that you've intended on, and you're starting to see it happen. But as opposed to others, you didn't have a mediocre life, you had a bad life, and then it got better. So you always have a reference point. And when my favorite expression is, when you really know hell, you wouldn't even go back to a visit, because you already know the whole thing, so why even bother? Some people live in hell all the time because they just don't know what it is. They don't know there's something better. You know there's something better. But is gratitude part of this, knowing that I've done this, I am so grateful for my life now. I'm never going to be like that anymore. I'm going to just go and get better all the time.
Onward, forward, Godward. I mean, it's just, yes, but, again, anybody, I'm a regular person. My life was collapsed at a time when it should have been the height of my life. I could have interpreted it in a very negative way and wound up bitter, but I realized, why would I do that to myself when I also took responsibility for having attracted the so-called situation to
I see.
myself. I took
see.
total responsibility because I understand thought creates results and feelings fertilize thoughts. So once I could accept responsibility, I said, I want to become really conscious and creative at using my thoughts and feelings and inspiring other people to seek their joy, to seek their happiness, to seek that gratitude. Because it's here, but what happens is every day we're focused always to the negative. We're focused to fear. We're focused to be afraid, focused towards anger, and focused towards violence. And I just thought, I'm one voice, but I'm going to speak out, and hopefully one person will hear something, and then they will want to start planting happy seeds or success seeds or joy seeds into themselves and learn how to become a conscious, creative person and use universal principle.
Right. So we have a lot of different goals. For some of us, the goals are as simple as really being happy, and we're really focused. Let's say, you mentioned before that what you're presenting is also a program. It's kind of like, it's a way of structuring the practice to create the images and create the future. Can you kind of like explain like what some of these techniques or practices would be related to happiness?
Well, the key is that you can summon the feeling of happiness now, and I can walk in the awareness of that my dreams are at this moment being fertilized and that I'm attracting them to me. I think that's the biggest thing. Walk in the awareness of answered, for the religious answered prayer. For those who are from an energy point of view, walk in the feeling of joy and happiness, because life is a feeling experience. If I'm sleepy, I seek sleep. If I'm hungry, I seek food. If I'm happy, I'm going to seek those experiences that are in tune with my feelings. If I'm angry, I'm going to look for a fight. So for me, if once you understand energy and you can look towards yourself and say, what am I feeling? Well, if I'm feeling what I consider low frequency vibrations, I can say, do I want to keep going in this direction, or do I want to switch? And I know that the inner me, that inner creative part of me, always works with a blueprint or an image. And so I can summon a picture in my mind and start to influence myself. And so that's a really great connection with your concept of being happy, because the inner you works by pictures. And your mental part of yourself is the part that flows from beliefs. So if I have a belief that I'm unhappy, I can change that belief, and I can always try. It's like always watering my garden, watering these seeds that will, regardless of what's going on in the external world, put around me a sense of flow, a sense of energy, and that makes the world a safer place and a more interesting place, because you're not walking through it afraid, you're walking through it vibrating from power, from happiness, from joy, and that is very magnetic and attractive to people. So to me, I always tell people, your feelings are worth a fortune. Happiness is worth a fortune. If I have a desire to be employed, if I'm unemployed, and I can just focus on that and focus on the happiness and the joy that it would bring me, I can begin to plant that seed into the universal mind of life. I can energize it and then let it go, but maintain that feeling, because I know feeling attracts results.
Okay, that's interesting. What happens when an obstacle presents itself, which is always the case in life? How do we deal with obstacles that happen to come along or we experience?
Well, in my case, I had the accident, and about several months later I was fired from my job. So here I am, imaging that I'm healthy and that I'm happy and that life is flowing in the right direction, and yet every day something seemed to be taken from me. So again, when something came to challenge me, I always talk to myself and say, how do you want to perceive this? Because whatever coming in my feeling about it is more important than what anybody thinks, than even the challenge itself. And so that's the key to success. The key to success is we are never going to stop challenges from coming to us. The key to success is that when it comes, you say, well, in imagination, I can go over this. I can have my feelings and go around this. And so you never give your power over to the challenge. Instead, you make the challenge small and the new image, much more bigger in your mind. Because the mind labels things. We're presented with any kind of stimuli, but we label it. And most of us label something good or bad. And today there's so much programming and conditioning going on where people are constantly being fed labels that are negative, and that influences your feelings, your health, and that's an erroneous use of this wonderful gift we have.
Okay, so you're prescribing something that seems very effective for transforming our lives.
Yes.
Through using these methods. Now, sometimes, like in life, we're presented with things that work, but there may be obstacles to actually using them. So, like, what might be the challenges in utilizing your program and utilizing your advice?
Well, the first thing is this: time management. In order for me to control my time for my family, for my work, for my business, I first have to understand, myself. And once I give myself time, and focus my thoughts and focus my feelings, and I feel now, okay, I'm in a good place, I am focused and I'm feeling secure, then what happens? I bring that to time management, to my husband, to my children, to my relatives, to my friends. Because why? I've taken care of myself. So often we have people taking all these actions on the outside. I believe the first action, pay attention to the inner you. Design what you want. Treat the inner you with respect. Learn how universal laws operate, and then proceed out into life. It's really the way to go, especially when so many people right now in the world are challenged by so much uncertainty and being fed so many pictures of horror and terror. They are images, and you really have to know if you're resonating with them or if you can really act as an empowered person and say, I'm going to shut that image off. There are equally more positive, more happy, more healthy, more loving, more vibrant images, but maybe I have to go seek.
What I'm asking, but more specifically, like this, from your experience, this works very well, and you're trying to promote the idea that we should all use it, and some of us may begin to practice it, but maybe feel a resistance. Now, what would some of those resistances be? And more importantly, how can they be overcome?
Okay, well, the first thing is this: we all create our own reality. So that's number one. My work is to help someone create the reality they want, as opposed to staying in a reality that feeds their unhappiness, that feeds the problem. Because unless you have knowledge, how can you turn it into self-wisdom? Unless you understand how the inner you works, how are you ever going to change your habit? In terms of the question of resistance, resistance is simply an opposing idea that's operating below the threshold of your consciousness. So the question is, if I have a desire, if I'm unemployed and I have a desire to be gainfully employed, but I have a resistance to change my thinking, how can you change the crop that you are attracting? Because thought creates results. So my audio program, Discover the Power of Imagination, is really about giving people the tools to know how to change their thinking and then to build a new belief yourself.
Melissa, how would you suggest that we create happiness every moment?
Well, the first thing is to know that you have the ability to create it. Regardless of wherever your problems and circumstances are. And I tend to always tell people, look at your life and everything you're attracting in life as if they're crops, as if you were a farmer. And so if you have poverty or some failure, some illness, some relationships that have been unpleasant, then look at them without reacting for one moment, just look at them as crops and ask yourself, do I want to proceed to do this? Because the thinking that created that crop is not the thinking that is going to create the solution, which is joy and happiness. And so the first thing is to look. And then once you say, okay, I want something different, I'm going to pass through my resistance, I want to be a happy person, how do I do it? Now you have somebody who's shifted their attention off of the problem towards solution. You have a mind that is open. You have a person looking for the tools. And when you have a person who is ready to change, then at that moment, at that moment, they can say, you know what, I feel better.
We only have a couple of minutes left. What I'm interested in also is how soon will this begin to work with someone? How soon, because I imagine eventually it becomes habitual, that one
Yes.
becomes, so how soon would that happen?
Yes, that's absolutely correct, because about 95% of all of us are addicted to our habits. And so that's why this is a great program, because it gives you the principles in a 2-hour lecture, and then you have programs for relaxation, programs for sleeping peacefully, programs for focusing. And the great thing is this, if the three of us took a seed right now for happiness and or gainful employment or better health, and we each planted it in our deeper selves, in our minds, no one could say when it would pop up, because we each have a different incubation period. It depends on your passion, your focus, and your ability to accept that you have received it and that you're incubating it. And so miracles happen, so-called miracles, which is simply an acceptance every moment. Because now you're vibrating, you follow? So your job may come through next week, mine may come through in 6 months. You know, you may walk out and suddenly walk into a person that changes your life. Why? Because you are vibrating from fulfillment, gratitude, and happiness. And that's why they're great tools. You can do it in the privacy of your home, on a plane. You can do it in between an audition. You can consciously say, I'm going to change how I feel. And I created the tools to help that person achieve their goals.
Well, thank you, Melissa. We appreciate it. And that's just about all the time we have for today. We want to thank you very much for watching. In the future, we'll explore other topics that are designed to help us better enjoy life. Be good, think well, feel very happy, and we'll see you again next week on The Happiness Show.
Happiness is powerful, it's our underlying need. Happiness is why we live each day. Happiness is destiny, so let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy.